the way, Phil lost his focus. He became fixated on Pat Perez's wife, Ashley. When she started dating Pat, she was only 22. She was young and kind of innocent. She was new to golf, new to the lifestyle, all of it. And so people who had been very close from that period said Phil talked about Ashley Perez a lot. And so at the 2015 Barclays tournament in New Jersey, Phil was a member at Liberty National, it was, this very swank club, right in the shadow of the Statue of Liberty. And he's staying at this big villa. I think it has 4 bedrooms. And he calls Ashley, not Pat, and says, "Hey, why don't you guys move into this villa? I've got plenty of space." And so they're like, "Great." They're just at some mediocre Marriott by the Newark airport. And so they stay up their first night. Phil loves his red wine. So they're sitting out on the patio and they're drinking wine. You know, Pat says they drank 3 bottles of wine. And at some point, Pat gets up to use the restroom, and Phil pulls out his phone and he shows a picture to Ashley. It's a nude selfie. He's fully erect. He's flexing a bicep, which to me is the best part of the whole image. And he says, "I'm going to leave my bedroom door open tonight when Pat falls asleep. I want you to come visit me." And Pat comes back to the table, no acknowledgement of what happened. Ashley's so stunned, she doesn't say anything. And that is what Pat is referring to. And he had carried that around for a long time. I mean, that podcast with Claude Harmon is 7 years later.
Right.
So after that podcast goes viral, Phil calls Pat again to talk about this situation. And they have this 26-minute phone call that Ashley recorded. It's on speakerphone, and Ashley just made a recording of it. She played it for me. And it's a fascinating document. And basically, throughout, Phil says, "I don't remember anything from that night. We had all that wine." And so that's his stance. And yet, he's also apologizing profusely throughout. So he's kind of working both sides of the street. I don't remember it, but if anything happened, I'm sorry for it. And I didn't put this in the scratch story. He says, "Why didn't you say anything back then, if this did happen?" And Pat Perez says, "Well, it would just devolve into a he said, she said, and you're the big fish, and so you would win that battle." And so that gives you some insight into Pat's thinking and how these things just kind of went away. But clearly, Pat still had a lot of anger towards Phil, and it exploded in that podcast, and that helped make this story what it is, because that lays the groundwork. But you can tell it